What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with another college football video. We're already in week 12. This week and next week are the last weeks of the regular season. Then we get conference championships, and then we'll move into bowl season. So we're getting down here, to us to the pick'ems wise. Ty, you're looking pretty good right now. You're up 5 games on me, but obviously there's still lots ways to go, and a pretty good week last week with 18-2 record.
Yeah, it was one of the easier weeks to pick, but I'll take the good record. This week should be interesting. This week kind of sets up rivalry week to kind of see which games are going to be the big games next week. So there are still some good games this week, so it should be interesting.
Worth noting here, it was kind of a coin flip for the 2 games that I lost. The 2 that we disagreed on. It felt like the Texas A&M, they almost had it, and same with Minnesota. But other than that, nonetheless, even me going 16-4 is a pretty good record. I'll take that any week. Just unfortunately, you got me this week. And moving into our first game of the week, we got on Friday night, Memphis versus a finally ranked 9-1 Houston team. This team was definitely getting no recognition for being 9-1. And they finally got it now in the latest rankings. And I got to keep, going with Houston here as they've been on a roll lately.
Yep, I think Houston gets to the American Championship at 11-1. I think they run the table in the American, win this game, and they'll get a shot at Cincy.
And another Friday game, we got San Diego State and UNLV. Should be a low-scoring game, that's for sure. And I think the San Diego State team under Brady Hoke, probably going to have a different job next year, but definitely a good year this year, and I think it's going to continue and move to 10-1.
Yep, this is to clinch their, I think it's the West Division in the Mountain West, so I think they get the win here and get to the championship.
And then Saturday, we're kicking it off. We got Georgia versus, I can't even remember the school's name, some FCS school. That's why there's no line or over and under. And it's pretty obvious here. You got to go with the best team in the country. I don't see, this being a contest at all.
No, this will just be like a glorified scrimmage here for Georgia. This is the famous SEC Cupcake Week, the week before rivalry week. So should be a nice, easy game for them.
And potentially the game with the most meaningful, playoff implications this week, Ohio State, Michigan State. And that line is just showing you how much, on paper that Ohio State is this year, especially at home in the Horseshoe. Tough place to win, tough place to even just go in and play a game. But, I'll defend Michigan State here, with the comeback win against Michigan. And then the Purdue loss, which was not too much of a shock, but, they definitely could have pulled that one out. And I just think that it's going to be easy but hard at the same time to run the ball. It'll definitely be there, but, got to score points in this game to keep up. So is it going to be if Mel Tucker and his squad and Kenneth Walker, if they can continue to run the ball and that's how they're going to score, or if they dig into that passing game? I think Ohio State's going to get them there, and I think that's why I'm taking Ohio State. Maybe not to cover, but I think they'll win this one pretty easily.
Yeah, obviously living in Michigan, I'm hearing all the noise already from the Michigan State fans, the disrespect of the 19-point line. So they're going to have to play with that chip on their shoulder that they always seem to in big games. But unfortunately, I think that is the only factor that could help them possibly pull a huge upset. But other than that, the Ohio State offense last week just looked unstoppable against a pretty good Purdue team. So I think Michigan State can hold their own. They can score points, but I don't see them really stopping this offense here. So I look for Ohio State to win by about 2 touchdowns.
And our first disagreement of the week, I'm going with Wake Forest here in the hot hand. That heartbreaking loss a few weeks ago made them go to 9-1 and fall a little bit in the rankings. But a big win last week against NC State. And I think they're going to continue that and keep their playoff hopes alive. Their chances are very slim, but, anything can happen these last 2 weeks. And a win here over, a pretty solid Clemson team that started the year, in shambles, has really strung it together as of late. But I think this is their final test until the ACC championship game for Wake Forest, and I'm going with them.
Yeah, I'm going with the upset. Well, not really upset here, but rankings wise. Can I say Clemson is a quiet 7-3? Like, is that even allowed to be said? But it just feels like nobody has talked about them since basically their loss to NC State. Seems like no one has really brought them up. They got to be close to being ranked. Like, if they win this game, probably
Mhm.
squeak in the top 25. So they're still a good team. And just going to Clemson is never easy, obviously. So I look for them to get a win here. They got to get some big win this season.
And this game is all about rebound. Oklahoma last week and the loss to Baylor didn't really look too hot. Still a good game, but unfortunately they just couldn't pull it out. And now you got a tough Iowa State team at 6-4, and this is a team that looks can be deceiving. Earlier this year they were what, top 10 team, I believe,
Yeah.
and they just kind of fell out for a month. But they're still bowl eligible, going to be in a bowl game, and I expect them to give OU a run for their money. But I just think that Oklahoma is going to overpower them late.
Yeah, this one seemed like a Oklahoma no-brainer, but that line just seems so small, almost too small, where it's like Vegas must know something. So that part kind of threw me off a little bit, but I got to go with Oklahoma playing at home, coming off a loss. I just don't see them losing 2 games in a row. It's just a matter of who they start at quarterback. I think that'll be interesting. Who do they go with after Rattler finished the game with Williams being benched?
Mhm.
So that'll be interesting, but I think they win fairly comfortably.
And we got another SEC Cupcake Week game, Texas A&M versus Prairie View A&M University. I only know that because Michigan played them last week in basketball. Not really much to be said here, except Texas A&M needs the rebound, and this is a perfect week for that rebound. And I expect them to win pretty easily here.
Yep. Should be another typical 8-4, 9-3 Texas A&M season here.
And we got another cupcake game for Mississippi State as they're facing Tennessee State University, which is I believe is coached by Eddie George. I think that is who he coaches for. But I think just another easy win here for Mississippi State, and maybe move up a few spots in the rankings.
Yep. Should be an easy win. Could set up a good Ole Miss game next week.
And we're moving to 2 o'clock here. Fox Sports 1, we got Iowa, who is surprisingly, 8-2. That's not really getting the recognition I guess they deserve. Going against a 4-6 Illinois team. And 38.5, I think might be our lowest over under of the year in this game. And I honestly would take the under just because
Yeah.
who knows with this Iowa team. They could put up 24, but then their defense is pretty good and Illinois may score 10. So betting wise, definitely going with the under here. For the pick, I just got to go with Iowa.
Yeah, that 38.5 might even be too high. I agree. This is going to be an ugly Iowa type of game. You saw Illinois, Minnesota a few weeks ago, 14-6 final. I think this will be kind of similar to that, but Iowa should win by at least 10.
And at 2:30, we got Notre Dame, who it seems like nobody's talking about now after that Cincinnati loss, going against Georgia Tech. And it seems like you and me have mentioned the last few weeks that they're just slowly squeaking by and just doing enough, to stay afloat. And, they really have been. At 9-1, I just said that no one's talking about them still. I mean, they're still a really good football team. It's just unfortunate because, they're not in a conference, so they don't get the benefit of the doubt of a rivalry week game, and next week it's going to be interesting for sure because Ohio State and Michigan have to lose next week. Michigan State, all these teams are playing some good teams next week, and if Notre Dame finishes 11-1, they're relying on championship games to go their way for them to get in the playoff. But for this game, you got to go with Notre Dame here, as I don't really see this going to be much of a contest.
Yep, should be another ho-hum Notre Dame game. I think they cover that spread. They've been playing a lot better. I think the lines, people are still kind of nervous from their start to the season when they were squeaking by, but I think they should dominate this game. I think they're a lock for the Peach Bowl, actually.
And at 3:30, well, you got Arkansas, who's was really hot to begin the year. I think a top 15 ranking, cooled off a little bit, lost two or three straight. I can't remember. Um, and now they're going to have to go into Alabama, not an easy place to play. And sitting there at one loss, I just don't see how they can lose this game. Arkansas will keep it close, maybe for the first quarter. Who knows? But then again, you might have an Alabama team like when they played at LSU, and they do have flaws this year. Definitely not the powerhouse that we've been accustomed to seeing. But I don't really expect Alabama to, keep this one close. So I'm gonna take Alabama here.
Yeah, I could actually see Arkansas maybe being pretty close at half, but I think Alabama will pull away in the end. They have been struggling lately, so we'll see if they can kind of find their stride here on offense, but I look for them to win probably by 2 touchdowns or more here.
Another 3:30 game. And yes, you're reading that right. I am going with SMU here. And my reason is, this SMU team is been, they're pretty solid this year in the American Conference. And I think if Cincinnati were to lose to a team, it'd either be them or Houston. And I just don't think they're gonna, keep that undefeated season going. As I was telling you before we started making this video, it seems like Cincinnati's squeaking by and they're not even playing trap games. They're just, not playing their best football. And I think this is the week where it's going to catch up to them. And that's why I'm going with SMU this week.
Yeah, this is the game, I think, for Cincinnati. I think SMU is a better team than Houston. Obviously, they lost a really close game to them on the road, but I do think they're the best team Cincinnati has left before the playoff or their bowl game, wherever they go. So I think if they win this game, they go undefeated. But I think SMU is going to keep it close. But I think Desmond Ritter is going to make a play or two late in the game, and Cincinnati pulls it out. Another close one.
And now we got the game before the storm. Michigan, Maryland, we're both Michigan fans. So we're rocking with Michigan this week. But, after that nail biting win last week, I was nervous. I don't know about you. I was nervous after we fumbled and gave him that easy field goal. But, we did something that we didn't do against Michigan State is we drove down the field, scored right away, answered. And, just you could tell after we scored, the whole stadium was quiet. Because they, honestly, I didn't expect, them to easily drive down the field. I thought maybe a field goal at best. And I was just as much a shock as everyone there. And it's really proven to me over this last month, since not even month, half a month since that Michigan State game, that this Michigan team is, the culture definitely has changed in the locker room, practice, whatever. And I think Jim Harbaugh is going to go to 10-1, and it's going to be a 10-1 slugfest in Ann Arbor. We'll be there. We'll be recording, making a game day video. Just keeping you guys updated on that, and it definitely will be a good game for sure. So make sure you tune into that one as well.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a trap game. I can't lie. They're coming off a huge win last week, a really gritty win over Penn State on the road. And then, I mean, it doesn't even need to be said. You got Ohio State next week. So now you're going to Maryland, who is not, I mean, they're a 5-5 team, but they're no pushover like they usually are. Like this team can move the ball when they want to on offense. The key is you have to force a turnover or two. With Maryland, that's been their main problem in their losses is turning the ball over. So if you force one or two of those, they'll start scrambling, and you should get out of this with a comfortable win. Just stay healthy. That's my main concern here.
And at 3:30, you got, I think, the most overrated team in the nation in Wisconsin at 7-3 versus unfortunate 3-7 team in Nebraska. They have games where they easily could have won. They could have beat Michigan and Michigan State this year to be 5-5, and I'm sure they have other games too that I didn't really watch that they could be a lot better. But I feel like just they haven't gotten anything to go their way this year, and that's the only reason why I'm going with Wisconsin here is because they're at home, and it feels like Nebraska is just hoping that Scott Frost can put something together next year.
Yeah, they did say they're bringing them back. I think they are. I mean, I feel like I say this every year. I feel like they're the best 3-7 team that I've ever seen. But it seems like every year you're saying that with these terrible record-wise Nebraska teams. But I just can't see them going into Wisconsin and winning this game. Special teams has been a huge problem for them all year, and it makes a big difference for them. And I think that'll show up again on Saturday.
And at 3:30 again on ESPN2, we got Pitt and Virginia. And Pitt's been a surprise so far in the ACC with Kenny Pickett, leading the way at QB. I just think they're going to keep dominating games like they have been. That surprise loss to Western in the beginning of the year, we were like, oh, no way, like Western? Okay, like maybe we'll be good this year. And it was more of just Pitt didn't play well as the season progressed. And Pitt could be a 10-0 team right now. Just unfortunately had a bad loss in the ACC a few weeks ago. But this week, I think Virginia has cooled down. And I think Pitt, is going to kind of steamroll through Virginia this week.
Yeah, Virginia's quarterback, I forget his name, drawing a blank, but didn't play against Notre Dame, and their offense just could not do anything. So if he doesn't play this game, I think Pitt easily covers that spread. Even if he does, Pitt should easily win this game, get to 9-2, and keep going towards the ACC championship. I think they might clinch a berth in that if they win this game, but I'm not totally sure on that.
We got actually the last undefeated team that we haven't talked about this week, and UTSA going against UAB, and it should be a really good game. Definitely UTSA's biggest test this year, I would say. And I'm just rooting for all these non-Power 5 schools to do as best they can. And I think it'll be interesting to see, if my predictions are right this week with UTSA winning and Cincinnati losing, who's going to be the best non-Power 5 school to get into a New Year's Six bowl. So that'll be something worth monitoring next week as we do these picks as well. But for this week, I think UTSA is going to win and move 11-0.
Yeah, I could have went UAB because UTSA struggled with a bad team last week, but I think they pull out a really close game here. I think this is a good team. I don't think this is a fluke of a 10-0 team. So I think they win another close game.
And then at 4, we got BYU off of a bye against Georgia Southern. And I don't think there's really much to talk about here. Should be a big win for BYU as they move to 9-2.
Yep, I agree. But committee does respect BYU. Can't argue with that, ranking them 14. But I think they win this game pretty easily.
And another 4:00 game, we got NC State and Syracuse. And I was a little hesitant picking this NC State team, but what they showed me last week in a tough loss to Wake Forest really showed that this NC State team is a really good 7-3 team, and they deserve that 20th ranking. So I got to ride with them this week.
Yeah, I think NC State covers this spread. Syracuse got embarrassed last week by Louisville, so I look for that to continue here, and NC State should win pretty easily again.
And then another disagreement. You and me both had Kansas State, and then I was going to switch to Baylor. Didn't you switch to Baylor? That really shows that this game really is a coin flip. If it was at Baylor, I would be for sure taking Baylor, and I guarantee you the spread would be in their favor. But Kansas State, you were saying it before the video, they're 7-3. Definitely a quiet 7-3 like Clemson is. And I just think that, Baylor coming off that big win last week, I just think they're going to be still on that cloud 9, and I think they're going to fall in this one and move to 8-3.
Yeah, it could be a letdown game for Baylor, but I was wondering how Kansas State is 7-3. Obviously, I had no idea, but they've won 4 in a row. I got it right here. They beat Texas Tech, TCU, Kansas, and West Virginia. So 4 in a row, that's big for them. But when you think about it, none of those teams are really that close to Baylor. And I think Baylor's really well coached this year. They have a really good defense, and they can run the ball. Those are really good recipes to win on the road. So I think they get it done here in a close game.
And at 7:30, the second best game of the week, I would say, is Oregon and Utah. I'm rolling with Utah here because I want to see a mix-up here in the college football playoff rankings. And I think if Oregon loses, this is the game to do it. Shockingly enough, Utah's favored. by 3 points. You know, you and me were kind of like a little hesitant on that too. You have the number 3 team in the nation. Yeah, they're on the road, but that really shows how much respect is given to this Utah team. And what I think they just entered last week, I believe, at 24 or 25, moved up a few. But I think the Utes are going to get this one done, pull off a huge upset, and it'll definitely be interesting next week, come around this time to see where Oregon falls.
Yeah, Vegas likes Utah, but unfortunately, I did not pull the trigger on them. This is going to be a tough game for Oregon, a road night game against a really improved Utah team. I think they've won 6 in a row, but last week Utah really struggled to put away 1-8 Arizona, which kind of threw me off. I don't know if they were just looking ahead to this game and got caught up or what, but they got to play a lot better this week to win this game. I was
Mhm.
surprised they were still favored after that, but I got to go with Oregon here, the more established team. I think they get a huge win here on the road.
Another 7:30 game is we got probably one of the biggest blowouts of the week. You know, and of the ranked teams here in Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. This pretty much is a cupcake week, you could say, for Ole Miss, coming off of that win last week at Texas A&M, and I think they're going to move to 9-2. And I believe they still have a chance for the SEC championship, but I think what they have, Alabama has to lose twice, and
Yeah, they would have to lose to Arkansas this week.
yeah, so it's not looking good for them. But no matter what, Lane Kiffin has done a great job in his first year here at Ole Miss, and definitely going to be bowl eligible and could be a New Year's Six bowl team as well.
Yeah, I look for Ole Miss to win really big here, possibly bigger than that spread. I think Matt Corral, he's still in the Heisman race, kind of on the outside looking in. So maybe he just shows out here and throws 5, 6 touchdowns to kind of,
Mhm.
help his case to win the award. So I think Ole Miss is going to put up a lot of points.
And our last game of the week at 8 o'clock on Fox is you got Oklahoma State, who I am very high on this year, going into Lubbock. I believe it is in Lubbock, right? That's where they
Yep.
Lubbock, in Texas Tech. The 10.5, the 10 spread is kind of deceiving to me. I think I would take it, honestly. I think Oklahoma State can cover and will cover, and I expect them to win by around 2 touchdowns. But definitely next week we're gonna see who this real Oklahoma State team is, facing Oklahoma, and huge rivalry game and lots of playoff implications for both teams in that game. But right now, we're still focusing on this week, and Oklahoma State will win big.
Yeah, the only thing that could hurt them is that this could be a trap game. Obviously, looking ahead to a huge game next week that it's shaping out to be with Oklahoma. That one's going to be fun. I'm taking Oklahoma State here. I actually think Texas Tech covers, but I think it'll be still a kind of comfortable win for Oklahoma State by at least a touchdown. Next week, I think that's going to be one of the most fun games of the season, and I'm actually hoping they end up playing twice, playing again in the Big 12 championship. But going with the Cowboys here.
And that'll do it for this week. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our content. As bowl season's upon us, we'll be breaking down those bowl games as well. And we're almost to 50 subscribers, just 5 more now. Once we get there, we're doing a giveaway. So you make sure you are subscribed to our channel so you're entered for that. But until our next video, the Bench Buddies are out.
She never called back.